Hi, this is Mark from Altcoin Buzz, and sorry I've been away for so long, had some personal things pop up and got those taken care of, so now I can get back to the charting with you, and there's a lot going on with Bitcoin, so we need to talk about it real quick. So let's take a look by starting off at the Bitcoin USD 1 week chart, not the 1 day chart, but the 1 week chart. What I've got here is I've got our support levels drawn out, and then also our resistance levels here on the top side drawn out. This is that descending wedge that we've been talking about on the daily chart, but now on the weekly chart. And what happens with a descending wedge is you get to the point where this pressure builds up to the point where that price action either has to break out or it has to break down. One of the two needs to happen. And we'll talk about where I think it may be going here in a minute when we get down to the 1 day charts. And if, just as a side note, if you're a hodler, this does not matter. You don't care whether the price goes up, goes down, whatever, you're in it for the long term and you're not going to do anything with it during that time. This is for the people that, like myself, want to increase their position in Bitcoin. So I'm taking advantage of the lows and buying more then, and then selling at the top end. This last little run that we had, I made a significant amount of Bitcoin percentage growing in my portfolio because I sold it before it moved down to this range that we're in now. When I think that we're sitting near the bottom of the price range, then I'll buy some more and I have more position in Bitcoin as it goes up. So for those hodlers, this doesn't matter, but if the rest of the people like myself, this is something that we want to be aware of. So that's basically, as you're looking at a pattern on the chart, what you're looking for to happen out of this price wedge, a descending triangle. Now, the other thing that we have going on here when we're looking at the chart from a price action standpoint, this is on the log chart, which is a percentage versus a price action, is we've got what we would consider a flag. And this would be considered a bull flag because we're downtrending or consolidating, retracing from an upward trend. So when you have this happening on the chart, there are some price targets that you can look at from this standpoint. So the way that you would do that is you would use the base of the flag. And at this point, we'll just say this is the base of the flag, this $3,700 range, and go to the top. And we'll just use 15 as our top, which is about we'll call it 400% increase. And then you would use the point where it breaks out to determine what that potential price target is. We use this as our base, that is our top, 400%, let's just say 400% from here at the bottom, if that would have happened soon, would put us at a price target of somewhere around $30,000. So let's just say we made a break down to the downside from this triangle, and we end up at this $4,000 level. Well, how do we do our price prediction from there then? Because now this is our flag. This is part of our flag. So let's take another logical area that we could start from. We'll be conservative. We'll start it from here as the start of we could go down here. We could probably go down here. But we'll be conservative. We'll start from here. Our next logical area of support, we'll say that was the start of our pull of the flag. And we come up. At that point, we've got a 700% increase. So let's just take that from where we potentially would break up out of the triangle. We'll go from here. 700% would take us up to roughly $30,000. So you can see from either scenario, whether we break out of the wedge up from here, whether we break out, settle down here and break out of the wedge, and even if we were to get down to $2,500 on a wedge and break out from there, you can see how this all works. There's a very significant upside. Okay, so you're asking, are we going to break out of this to the upside, or are we going to break out of this to the downside? Should I be looking to buy in at this $4,000 range? Should I be looking to buy in here where we're at the $6,000 range? And there's a couple things that would factor into there. One is I've read an article recently that said basically the Bitcoin miners can not afford to have Bitcoin go down to this $4,000 level. It's costing them $6,000 to mine a coin. If you believe in manipulation, well, then this would be the range that we'd want to stay in. The miners would not be real happy if it dropped below $6,000. The other thing we can do is we look at the Fibonacci retracement tool, which is that mathematical equation based upon price action that gives us some support and resistance levels and is extremely accurate. And if we just do a rough draw from this $4,000 level up to where we're at in that $20,000, we are right at that golden range of 786. Call it $6,800 that would theoretically be support for us. Again, this is on the weekly price range, not the daily. We'll look at the daily. We're below that right now, but we are in that range. So if we go to the daily log, and I have not changed the lines on this, and that's why we've got some peaks going on out here in the daily log. This was a false breakout. We could have had this continue either up or at least had it settle down and use this as a support level to break back off of it, bounce back off of it. And we did not do that. Now, the other thing that we're looking at as far as price and candle patterns go is there is a thing called a head and shoulders where you've got these shoulders here, a big head, and then theoretically another shoulders pattern here. So on the head and shoulders pattern, when it's on top of the support level like this, the theoretical there is that the break would come to the downside. If that head and shoulders came as a resistance, a big consistent resistance line, and which we had before, which looks something more like this, then you would be looking at that continuing up to the upside. So if we were to come up, let's just say into that $6,800 range, we made a little rally to $6,800 and came back down. The theoretical would be that we would break back down through this trend line. And then we'd be looking at our next support level, which would theoretically be somewhere in here at $5,600. Now, if we want to look at what the price volume looks like by price range, this is the VPR, the volume by price. It's not overall volume. It's where is the volume coming in at that price point. And you can see this is where the resistance came in at the $8,000, and we're down tracking in here now. On the daily chart, we have very little support here at this 61, call it 62 to $5,900. It's a thin support level for us. And if we break that, there's absolutely, you can see right in here, this little green and red candle. There is absolutely no support in there. Now, if I zoom out to include this previous price history, a break of this level that we just talked about, you can see there is no support in there either. And so that would take us almost to a straight shot down into at least the $4,200 range, $4,000 range. Okay? I know you guys like looking at the Ichimoku cloud, so we'll do that, but really we just had that crossover now into the red cloud. We had the crossover on the moving averages, and we're looking at a resistance of that $7,100 as a very strong resistance level, which would essentially complete our head and shoulders there. No other indicators look really good for us on the chart right now. How am I looking at this for myself? I am waiting to see how this plays out. I believe that we're going to have this head and shoulders pattern. It's not enough for me to take advantage of on a trade, so I'm not in a trade right now. I'm very concerned that we would break through this support area and start heading down towards the $4,000 range. I'm not trying to be a doomsdayer. I'm not trying to bring any FUD. I'm just saying that's something we have to be conscious of. I'm still very long-term bullish. Again, looking at the bull flag and where our potential price for Bitcoin goes after that into the teens and into the 30s. If we can bounce off of here into the 30s, if we can bounce off of here into the teens. Now that potentially takes us to the end of the year, right? If we drew out if we're going to get into this area because we break down, then we've got to extend out this wedge and then, potentially come into the beginning of the year. You can see that's where the wedge starts to narrow in that January area to February area, and that's where the price action would have to break either up or down from there, which actually could be a very nice scenario, right? We get into the beginning of the year, we can buy in at the $4,000 range, we get the ETF announced about the same time, and everybody starts getting into Bitcoin. We certainly could launch up into that 30, whatever price range from there. I guess long term, we're still good. There's a great basis for fundamentals right now, but the fundamentals do not play in the charts today at all. There are so many more positives to the fundamentals than the ETF decision that wasn't going to get passed anyway. The Sonic X Bitcoin ETF is extremely solid and addresses all the SEC's concerns that they had prior. So could we break through this to the downside? Yes, we could, because again, the fundamentals don't really matter at this point in time unless the ETF came out tomorrow and said, oh, we're not going to take our time anymore. We're going to approve the ETF. Then that would certainly change things. But could we break through this and then have some kind of scenario where we're getting into the end of the year and that happens and that launches us? Absolutely. So I'm not real bullish right now. I'm hanging out at this point in time. I'm going to hold and wait and see what happens with the continuation of this head and shoulders pattern and see if that forms out. And hey, even if it doesn't, what's my loss there if I'm going long? Not a lot, because, we'd have to get back over this trend line for me to start feeling encouraged, right? This was just a head fake. We didn't pull out of this. We didn't respond to it as a support level. So this was just a head fake. But that's what I'm waiting for, is just to see how we react now up against this resistance level that we've got in the wedge, or the support level to the downside. Hey, thanks for watching. I tried to make it short as short as possible, but I wanted to give you a very thorough description. I hope that helps you out and keeps your sanity. We'll keep an eye on it. Don't forget to leave your comments below. Also subscribe and hit that notification button so you know when these videos pop up, along with all the great content that we have coming up on here. And don't forget to go to altcoinbuzz.io, where you can just use that as your launching point to get to everything that we post throughout the day from a bunch of talented people. And until next time, may all your trades be good ones.